let's get right into it. So let's get into this Scream 7 news. So yesterday, um, I had came across, I was in the middle of doing another story, but I had came across this other story that Isabel May had been allegedly, according to Daniel RPK, had been cast as Sidney Prescott's daughter in the new Scream 7 film. Now, they said her fake name is Taylor, but allegedly her name in the movie is going to be Tatum, which would be an homage to Tatum from Scream, the original Scream movie, which was played by Rose McGowan. So that story came out yesterday, but I believe one of the major trades actually reported it as well. So it may be legit. I think it was like Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, one of them. I can't remember. I did so many damn topics yesterday, and yesterday's episode was a little chaotic. So today I've pretty much smoothed everything out. So today's episode is not as chaotic as yesterday, although I did deliver. It was just all over the place. It was just too many things happening. I was moving things around. I ain't going to do that no more. I'm just going to do things in the order in which it is. But anyway, back to this topic. So the latest story, in case you don't know who this young man is right here, I know I sound old when I say young man right here, right? Um, Apparently his name is Cassian Bilton, and he's about to play, or allegedly rumored to be playing the boyfriend of Tatum. Now, Isabel May, as I said, celebrated for her performances in, well, she actually is from 1883 and 1923, which is the Taylor Sheridan series, because Taylor Sheridan is pretty much, he runs Paramount Plus. Every, I think, scripted show on that streaming service is a Taylor Sheridan series. Not that I'm complaining, because a lot of his shows is good. However, I only watched a couple of episodes. I couldn't really get into the multitude of spin-offs of Yellowstone. I do like Yellowstone, but 1883, 1923, I tried to get into 1883 with Dame Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford. I bailed after a couple episodes. I was just like, I just wasn't interested. But Yellowstone, I definitely love that show. And all the other spinoffs, I really never got into it. But she's from that series. And they said that she's actually going to be playing Sydney's daughter. But she has two kids. So I do wonder if there are going to be two actresses that are going to portray her kids in the film. So is it that Isabel is going to play one of the daughters, and we still haven't leaving the door open for, oh my God, I had her name in my head this whole time. The other actress, the one that was in Ghostbusters. I'm wondering if they're still gonna look at her as playing the other daughter in the film. So they said this development follows Neve Campbell's return to the franchise after her absence in the sixth film. Now, the introduction of Sydney's daughter opens new adventures for the storyline, potentially exploring the complexities of a mother-daughter relationship amidst the chaos that Ghostface brings. The addition of Cassie Bilton as her boyfriend introduces a new character dynamic, potentially adding layers to the plot and character interactions. With the return of Neve Campbell and the introduction of Isabel May and Cassian Bilton, the franchise appears to be evolving while honoring its roots. Now, as y'all probably already know, or maybe you don't because you're not in the entertainment silo like I am, Kevin Williamson, who you know, wrote Scream, Scream 2. I believe he also wrote Scream 4, but did not write Scream 3. Aaron Kruger wrote that one, and then Scream 5 and 6 were written by Guy Busick. Well, he wrote part of it. I forget who the other writer was for 5 and 6. But Kevin Williamson wrote the first one, the sequel, and Scream 4. He is actually coming on board to direct Scream 7. Now, I'm hoping, because no shade, but Scream 5 and 6, while I did enjoy parts of that film, I had issues a bit with the writing. So I'm hoping that Kevin Williamson will have a hand in tweaking some things, making things a little bit better, especially because he knows the character he knows Ghostface because he created the character. He knows Sidney Prescott. He knows Gail Weathers. So he knows those characters. So yeah, while Mark Kincaid, who is Sidney's husband, is not necessarily the character he created, he does have a hand in, he understands the Scream world and how to make the Scream franchise what it is. Now, I do like the idea of a mother-daughter conflict, which we got a little bit of that from what was it from Halloween, the Halloween trilogy that David Gordon Green did, where it was that Karen was going at it with Laurie, and they were kind of having this kind of rebuttal until like halfway through, or maybe not even halfway through. It was like the third act of Halloween 2018 when she came to her damn senses and was like, "Can't do it, I can't do it." And then Michael comes over like a damn fool. She was like, "Gotcha," shot his ass. And he fell down. Well, then of course, Laurie stabbed him and threw him down the steps. And you know, the whole thing that happens in the third act. But for the most part, it's like, I like the idea of Sidney going at it with her daughter, where it's like Sidney understands this world. Sidney basically has been dealing with this mess for over 2 decades. With her daughter coming in, you know how ungrateful a lot of these new generation children are. Where they were like, "Oh well, that's your drama, that's your burden." Which, if you think about it, was a similar conflict. Speaking of Laurie Strode, in the other alternate universe of Halloween, when she was going at it with John, played by Josh Hartnett, fine behind. So when he was going at it with his mother and rebelling and doing this other stuff until he came face to face with Michael, then he straightened up real quick. So I feel like there needs to be that. However, here's the part what I really think would really get the goose, cooking in the oven. I'm actually hoping that they do some type of twist where basically, since Sidney has 2 children, that they kill one of the daughters off. If they put something like that in there, I think it would raise the stakes a lot higher. It would make it a lot interesting, especially when, we know the history of Sidney's mother and all the drama that she was dealing with her mother's past and how that trickled down onto her. And now the sins of Sidney's past is coming and trickling down. So it's like multi-generational trauma, which we have seen play out in a multitude of horror films. But I feel like when it comes to this situation, I'm here for it. But I do have a picture of Isabel May because I didn't have one of her yesterday. So yeah, there she is. People's up here complaining about she look too old. She too old to be playing Sydney's daughter. And I'm sitting there like, Neve Campbell is in her 50s, early 50s, but nevertheless, she's in her 50s. This young lady, I believe, is in her early 20s. So, but then here's the thing. When have you ever seen a 23-year-old actually play a 20 damn 3-year-old on camera? There have been many a times, especially me growing up, that we've had like people who are in their mid 20s to pushing almost 30 who played teenagers. I believe Gabrielle Carteris was damn near 40 when she played Andrea on Beverly Hills 90210. So this is not foreign to have a much older actress play a teenager, especially when on a movie set, you're required, not necessarily required, but it's the standard to work 14 to 16-hour days on a movie set. So you can get away with, you can get around the little child labor laws when you got somebody who's older, who is over the age of 18 that could play a much younger and get around to it. So I'm thinking what they're probably going with is they're probably going to say like Sydney has a 15, 16, maybe even 17-year-old. And I don't know how this young girl, I mean, like I said, I don't remember her from 1883, and I don't remember like that whole franchise, so I don't remember how she looks. And then on the other hand, when they do those shows, they make everybody look old on them on the westerns. In the westerns, nobody looks young. They always look a little older and a little dirty, you know. So I say all this to say, this is what we have so far. It has not been officially confirmed. This is according to Daniel RPK. And Daniel RPK is somebody who is he gets a lot of information, and a lot of times his information is correct, and sometimes his information isn't correct. Um, but I'm gonna go with somebody who was like, okay, well, if you've pretty much been more on the right side than the wrong side, then I'm gonna take your word for it. But I'm actually hoping that this movie hurries up and takes shape because y'all already got a release date, and it's supposed to be February 27th, 2026. So it don't take long to shoot a horror movie. It probably takes about a month. Maybe you could push for 6 weeks. And I feel like after that, it's like you could definitely do what needs to be done in regards to like getting that done in a quick amount of time, as long as y'all got that script airtight. So while I know some people are irritated and annoyed by the whole Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, the Core Four not coming back and all this other stuff, Sydney is my girl. I grew up watching Sydney in the Scream franchise. Excuse me. I'm on the elder side of Gen Z. So, yeah, I'm not no ways upset about Melissa and them not being a part of the franchise. It would have been nice if they could rejudge, like taking all the time because it's been a while since we got a movie, like what, 2 years? So there could have been enough time for y'all to bring in fresh meat and rejudge it instead of like going back to Sydney. But if there's a story there, then I'm curious to see what that story is. And hopefully what this is eventually this is an opportunity. Yeah, you're going to have Sidney in this movie and possibly another film, but we're passing down the torch to a next generation of kids. So hopefully we're going to do that. And look, I just hope this time you kids just keep your political stuff to yourself because if Spyglass going to be around here doing dumbness, then protect your job. But people, at the end of the day, as Americans, we should be allowed to say what we want to say and speak up for those who are disenfranchised. So I say all this to say, what do y'all think of this story in regards of the alleged casting for and I can remember that girl named Nat comes to me, McKenna Grace. So I'm hoping like McKenna Grace will be maybe she can play the younger sister. So I'm hoping that's what happens with that. That if they're gonna play, because remember, sis, you did have 2 kids. We saw that stroller in Scream 5. So you can't pretend like you don't have 2 kids post, you being out of the whole franchise or whatever since Scream 4, between the gap of Scream 4 and 5. So I say all this thing. What do y'all think of this story in regards of some of my theories and the cast in regards of like, yeah, maybe it would be interesting if they killed off one of Sydney's daughters. That would kind of raise the stakes, and then she'd have to be extra protective of Tatum if that's still her actual casting name. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.